Call to order the meeting for the Upson County Planning Commission for Monday, January 8th. Before we start, just to make sure, if you are planning to talk, have you signed up, signed your name? Is there anybody that's planning to talk that has not signed their name? For either one of them? Okay, perfect. First order of business is call to order roll call.
Yep, getting to that sheet right now. All right, good. Commissioner Pitts.
Yes, sir.
Chair McKinley.
Yes.
Commissioner Hilton.
Here.
Vice Chair Dawson.
Here.
Commissioner Fallon.
Here.
You have quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Item 2, adoption of the meeting minutes. We have the November meeting minutes, the September minutes that's noted on your agenda. We do not have those. So do we have any questions or changes for the November minutes? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, let's accept them.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item 3, old business, there is none. Item 4, new business. Item 4A, subdivision plat, Upson County is requesting to consider final plat approval of the Ruth Christine Mulling subdivision. This is 48.2 acres, west side of Logtown Road, tax map 112, parcel 007. Do I have a motion to, well, do we have, Doug, do you have, who do we have for this piece of property?
It's the
Do we have anybody here for the Ruth Christine Mulling subdivision? Okay. Do you guys want to speak? Do you have anything? Just there for questions? Okay. All right. Okay. Any questions initially from anybody here for them before we open the public hearing?
No, I don't have any.
No.
Okay. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay. So what I'll do is just go down this list. The first on the list, Emily Osteen, that's you. Natalie Nickerson. Okay. Would you like to speak?
Sure.
I mean, are you for it, against it?
I'm for it.
Okay. If you want to speak, that's fine. I just want to give everybody the opportunity.
When it's time. Oh, right on the spot.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you would stand on one of these spots, say your name and your
I'm
address.
Natalie Nickerson. I am friends with the family that live in the Castle House on Goshen Road.
Nope. This is
Mullen.
Mulling.
All right. My name's on the wrong list then.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
All right.
Still for it.
Yep, and then somebody else marked theirs out. Okay, so we have nobody here that wants to speak on behalf for or against the Ruth Mulling subdivision? Okay, all right. In that case, do I have a motion to close the public
I'll
hearing?
make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Can we get your
Absolutely.
presentation, please?
Yes, this is a staff report. Normally this would be an administrative review, but as you know, the staff does not have the ability to grant variances or waivers, and there are two particular issues with this plat in terms of variances. The first one, and I will go through the staff report also, but just to give the little intro. The first variance is that we have an ordinance portion that you're familiar with, because this has happened a couple times before, where in this particular case, one of the lots is, in this case, divided by the city of Yatesville's city boundary, and then of course the rest of that particular lot is in the unincorporated area of the county. Let me pull up that drawing. This is the aerial from the tax assessor's website of the particular property in mind that we've got here. And this is, and you've got your drawings, this is just a photograph of the plat that you've got in front of you, and you can see it's the 3 lots. What you can't see, because it's not on the plat, is where the boundary of the city of Yatesville, let's see if I can sort of indicate where it is. There we go. So the city of Yatesville sort of swoops through this right in here like that. So we would expect, number one, that to be indicated on the plat. You can see that it's not. And then number 2, that's contrary to our ordinance, which says that every lot has to either be in the city or be in the county. So in this case, in order to go through with the plat as proposed, they need a variance. The other one is this issue over here on the south side. No, not yet. There we go. All right. This is the flag lot here with what we call the flag stick. By ordinance, the subdivision ordinance, the maximum length of the flag stick is 500 feet, and you'll see that it's over 700 feet. So we also either need to grant a variance for that, or they would have to modify the plat. All right, I'll go into the staff report now. There are about a dozen points. I won't go in detail on all of them. Here we talked about the first point, which is the discussion in the ordinance about variances and how those are addressed. Then normally we would just accept whatever is on the plat as the name, but since we're before you, we will also ask you to approve the name of the subdivision based on the block there on it. It's the Ruth Christine Mulling subdivision. Point 3, this is, a lot of these are technical issues, but there's a legend on there, and I just ask that they include a lot more of the symbols in that legend. Although in the particular plat, they did do a pretty good job within the body of the plat to describe what the symbols meant, but we would expect those to also be listed in the legend, and they're not. And so we ask that those be appropriately listed there. Then here, point 4 is where the little sketch plan, you'll see that that's little drawing in the corner, as well as the main plat itself. We would expect to see the city limit line, and we don't. So I'm asking that they modify the plat to include that city limit line on both of those drawings. Also, there's some indication then incorrectly about what the setbacks are because of, I guess, a misinterpretation of the code. So we asked them to do that. Also, if there are any covenants or deed restrictions, as you know, very often we don't hear about that, whether there are or not. We do not enforce those at the Building and Zoning Department, but it helps anybody coming in for us to know that they exist, so that we can warn people that, yeah, we can issue you a permit for X, Y, or Z, but we happen to know there are deed restrictions or covenants in that subdivision. So if we're notified, the county's not going to enforce those, but at least we can notify folks that they exist. So we don't have any information about whether there'll be any restrictive covenants or deed restrictions. You may recall the Paradise Meadows last time. We were told during the meeting, yes, they will be a couple minimum building size, and it excluded manufactured homes. Well, based on the zoning, we would approve manufactured homes and smaller homes. So it's important for us to know about those covenants, not that we're going to enforce them, but we can notify anybody coming in for a permit. We just want you to know that there are these restrictive covenants or deed restrictions that you may have forgotten about, and we just want to tell you. So we need those mentioned every time that we review one of these, just to know if they're not listed on the plat. They don't have to be listed on the plat, though it helps. Sometimes they're multiple pages. At least tell us somewhere that there are, or even on the plat, just mention, look somewhere else, and they're recorded with the clerk of the Superior Court. The surveyor's certification has to be revised because it incorrectly states that we don't review plats like this when we do, and both the owner's and the zoning administrator's certificates are missing. So we need it changed for that. Now you'll see where we're bringing up the mention of the flag stick issue. When you look at the plat, it's 760.89 feet long, which is over 260 feet longer than it's supposed to be. So they'll either have to be granted a variance by you, or they'll have to go back and repair that and change it. And then the same part where Lot 1, a portion of that, as I showed you, sort of a crescent shape on the top of Lot 1 is actually in the city of Yatesville. So they've got regulations of the city and regulations of the county on one piece of property. So again, Madam Chair, we'll ask you for 4 votes, 2 on the variance, 1 on the name of the subdivision, and then finally requesting that they make all the other changes that are listed in the staff report. That concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments, thoughts on this?
No, I don't have any.
Okay. Based on the staff report that we just heard, do I have a motion either way? And I'm going to start with the first one, subdivision name.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept.
I second.
All in favor?
Unanimous, thank you.
Okay, next, variances, cross jurisdictional lot. Do I have a motion for that, or do we need to have any comment for that?
I'll make a motion to grant the variance for that.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
All in favor?
Unanimous, thank you.
And number 3, the panhandle lot length.
Yeah, I'll make a recommendation we accept that too.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay.
Unanimous, thank you.
So these 3 things we approve with the contingency that all these other things are met.
Well, if we could have a vote on,
You
require
want
them
all
to do all
those?
those others.
Okay,
too.
okay. So the last on this is, do I have a motion to accept this with those things outlined
With the
in the
conditions that,
staff report?
yeah, I'll make a motion.
To accept? For it? Motion for it?
Yes.
Okay, second. All in favor?
Unanimous, thank you. All right, are my plat people? Okay, so again, what we do need is Scanlon Engineering needs to make all those changes, and you already have the staff report. You've been granted the variances, so you're good to go on that. So as soon as I see a plat, submit that back to me. It's got all the changes that have just been required. I can sign it, and y'all can be on your way.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, item B, 4B, application for special exception, SPX 2024-01. John and Kylie Haslam of Upson County request that Upson County approve a special exception for indoor-outdoor special event at 745 Goshen Road. And I think we got it right here. So I have John and Natalie here for, you guys, Natalie, are you part of this or are you just for?
I'm just here for it.
Okay. So John, you're the only owner here that wants to speak? Okay. So if you'd like to come to one of,
I want to open public here.
it's not public yet
Okay.
because it's his.
Okay.
If you'd like to come to one of these marks,
Sure.
just state your name and address for us. And if you want to give us your presentation.
Madam Chair, he's given me his slide presentation, so this
Oh,
is
okay.
what you see up here
Okay.
is the slides that he's provided to the county.
Perfect.
Great. Good evening to the committee, and thank you for the opportunity for the commission to hear this. I live at 745 Goshen Road, a property known as the Castle, affectionately. This was a property that was, I won't say hand-built, but a lot of love and care went into this property by the previous owners, Jimmy and Selena Richter. The property is actually modeled after what was called the Biltmore Estate, if you've ever heard of that, in North Carolina. And it's an absolutely beautiful rendition of a castle. It's about 6,000 plus square feet and on about 6.2 acres in a highly wooded area, as you can see. You go to the next slide, thank you. And the request here is to change the zoning of the property, just simply to allow the castle to hold events. And we think it could be a unique event option for the Upson County and surrounding counties. We think it offers something unique and different from some of the event facilities that are currently available. We move to the next slide. So again, it's a boutique sort of event wedding venue. It would be small, perhaps 100 to 150 guests, indoor and outdoor venues with accommodations for up to 20 people. We still live on site, so we would have to manage that. We've put a lot of work into the property recently to ensure that there's adequate on-site parking facilities. We move to the next slide. This is the property before and after the landscaping updates. A lot of the tree or foliage area out the front was removed and was replaced with what you can see there, a fountain, a garden, and a number of other enhancements, and you can also see additional parking. You move to the next slide. There would be 3 potential sites for weddings or events. Right in front of the castle, site 1, site 2 in front of the fountain, and site 3, which is sort of a garden area off to the side. I move to the next slide. This is an example of a potential layout. Again, it could be an outdoor venue. We do have facilities indoors to hold smaller indoor venues as well. And if you move to the next slide, this could sort of essentially be just a rendition of what the parking would be. And all parking would be able to be contained on site with overflow parking on some of the grass areas noted there. So I think that's the end of the slide presentation, is that right? Okay. And I guess, from my perspective, would want to understand if there are concerns, what those concerns are and how we could meet or address those concerns. I understand that there's a number of facilities that have gotten this type of exception. There's some similarities, there's some differences to what we're offering here. But we would certainly uphold whatever conditions or code or anything to ensure that the place is managed appropriately and provides as little impact to the surrounding houses. I think there's literally only 5 in the actual area. This part of Goshen Road is an offshoot of the main Goshen Road, and there's a limited number of properties. I think it may only be 5 or 6 on this road. So having said that, I would envision these types of events, because it would be wedding, it would probably be more so on the weekends. I wouldn't anticipate much happening during the week. and we would operate that during appropriate hours to reflect all code and ordinance to ensure there was no noise issues, and we would properly address whether it be wastewater, water, or cleaning the facility in a timely manner within the 12 hours to ensure that the facility itself is meeting all the requirements that other such facilities have met. So I've never done this before in terms of presenting these types of things, but I will say I'm very open to answering questions. I look at this as an opportunity to offer the community something unique and something that could be of value from a perspective of what people are looking for in a wedding or an event planning venue, and it offers them choice from what is existing. So I think what I'd like to do, if I may ask, is to listen to others and hopefully have the opportunity to address any public questions or commentary at the end of all of the public address. So I'll leave it at that.
All right,
Okay?
thank you.
Thanks.
Do you guys have any questions initially for him, or do you want to wait till we
I
kind of
don't.
get through?
Just wait.
Yeah, let's,
Would you rather have Doug's presentation, Mr. Cruz's presentation first, or I'll
Yeah,
leave
let's
that
have-
up to you guys if you're ready.
yeah.
Doug?
All right, yes, I can go first. Get my presentation fired up here again.
That may, I'm saying that because that may generate some questions.
Sure.
All right, you do have the staff report. My presentation is just a summary of your staff report. You're going to have a lot more detail in that staff report than what I'm going to go over, but I do want to hit at least what I consider the highlights and the salient facts relative to your consideration tonight, making a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners. This is AR zoning, and as you're aware, because we've done these a few times, one of the special exceptions allowed in the AR zoning is what's called an indoor and outdoor special event venue. It's got to be on a minimum of 5 acres. This particular lot's got a little over 6. This is at 745 Goshen Road. A little history, and some of you might have been here, and maybe most of you weren't. In 2016, the previous owners, Jimmy and Selena Richter, applied for basically this same thing. They withdrew their application the following month because the comments that they were getting from the neighbors basically discouraged them from going forward. So before this body, and certainly before the Board of Commissioners can consider it, the application was withdrawn. So this has never come before you before officially, or the Board of Commissioners. This is the first time. It's not the first time that it was started, but this is just the furthest that an effort like this has gone through. Also, there is currently a business at this location. It's what we call a short-term rental, Airbnb, VRBO, whatever you want to call it. We have several of these. This is very common use across the country now, very popular. You do not have to have a special license or anything. You just pay your occupation tax as a landlord, and that's what they do in this particular case. So you'll see in the staff report, they have been paying this, let's see, since 2022. So, and they have paid for this year, so they paid the tax to allow just guests to stay there, not special events, but just to have guests stay there for the last 3 years. And again, any homeowner can do this. It's, again, you pay your occupation tax because you're in business as a landlord, but outside of that, nothing else special is required. You will find them advertising on a website called AirPaz and Rent by Owner for this VRBO, this short-term rental type use. This is the east side of Goshen Road. On the back side, again, this is 6 acres. A lot of that 6 acres isn't what you saw in the graphic because when you get behind the pool, which you'll see in the staff report, the photos, it drops off considerably down to the creek. And I was told by the applicant that all that back there will not be used, so it's basically the backyard forward to Goshen Road, which is what will be used as part of the venue. And the home itself is approximately 5,296 square feet of heated space. That number does include the basement. The zoning in the area is AR all the way around. Mostly you've got single family, heavily wooded homes. As you know, there are specific review standards for special exceptions that are in the ordinance and required by state law. You'll see in the staff report, and I'll present those, my view of some of those. You also know in the comprehensive plan, we have policies and character areas. The character area for this particular lot is rural residential. There's the description of what that means. And you'll see that, interestingly enough, it does have preferred zoning districts of R1, R2, and PR. AR is not listed, even though that's the zoning on this particular piece of property. We also have goals and strategies in the comprehensive plan, certainly more than the ones that you see listed here. But these were the ones that I pulled out that I felt in any way, shape, or form pertain to what we see and what's in this request. All right, on the staff review of the special exception criteria, the first one is whether or not the request is contrary to the purpose of the ordinance. This is listed as a special exception to have this sort of venue, so obviously it's not contrary, it's just a special exception, so it's not granted by right. We have to look at each individual case and judge it on the merits of the particular case. Now, what you see in the staff report in here is I've listed the similar facilities that we have in the county. 4 of them have gone before this group. The ones that were approved through the Planning Commission Board of Commissioners were the second one, Callaway, the next one, 33 Frog Hollow, the one after that, the barn at Harper Pines, and then the last one, as you know, just last year, the Quiller property was approved for this. And you see the dates for that. The other facilities predate me. They were here when you were here probably, but they were here before I got here, so I'm not quite sure what facilitated the creation of Bickley's Lake or Oak Hill Farms, but when I went back and checked their occupation tax, Oak Hill Farms has been paying their occupation tax since 2012, and Bickley's Lake has been paying it since 2009. So they've at least been in business for that length of time for whatever sort of events that they have. All right, detrimental to the adjacent properties or the general neighborhood. Basically, I think any use, if mismanaged and not controlled, can be a nuisance and can be a hazard to the neighborhood. Obviously, the nature of a special event venue is that you're automatically going to have an increase in noise, an increase of number of people, and traffic. So that's just an automatic. Now, it's a question of whether it rises to the point of being a nuisance and whether they're the minimum impacts or something greater than is necessary, and that's something that you need to assess up front, and to some degree you can't determine what it is until you see how the property is managed, monitored, and controlled, and what sort of events, and the frequency of events. If you only have 4 events a year, obviously that's less effect than if you have 26 or 52 events a year. And what I did is, in terms of impact here, I took the facilities that we talked about earlier, other than the one in the city, and just tried to get sort of at least what these particular facilities are surrounded by and how big they are. So you can see the acreage of them. The largest one we see is the barn at Harper Pines, 161.9 acres. And this would be the smallest. If this is approved, Haslam's the Castle is 6.2. But again, the minimum by ordinance is 5 acres, so all of them meet that. And to be honest, when you see these numbers, these are the numbers or the acreage that was given when the application came to us. Now, do they use all that acreage for the activities? No, we know that they probably don't, and to be honest, I can't tell you what percentage we do use or they do use, but we know that at least when they applied and went through the process, this was the acreage that was involved that they talked about. Now, I did basically a non-scientific review of how many homes were in the general area. I didn't go out a specific distance. I didn't swing a compass or anything. I just all right, depending on traffic or just proximity to the particular facility, how many homes are relatively close. And I would say that based on impacts, Bickley's Lake, if you're familiar with that, the main entrance goes by about 9 or 10 houses, right by their front door. So in terms of traffic, I would say of all of these, Bickley's Lake probably impacts directly the most homes just because of where their access is. Now in terms of proximity, if you go to Frog Hollow, you got 5 homes to the east of it, but you've got, if you're familiar with that area, Sheila Circle, which is a relatively dense neighborhood. There are 16 more homes that you might consider impacted, depending again on the level of number of people, the noise level and traffic. And you know, because of that location, that's certainly a high traffic area, so if you get a major event going on, that would certainly complicate traffic in that particular area. And then you see, for Oak Hill Farms, which is out near Legacy Ranch, the former Rock Ranch, there aren't really a lot of homes out there. So, and Oak Hill Farms is one of the longest events, or at least one of the oldest ones that's been on, at least officially, our books that we're aware of. And there aren't that many homes, so obviously that particular facility doesn't have much impact. So when you look at all these numbers and then you look at the castle, again, I would agree with the number, 6 to 7 homes could be quote unquote in the impact area. Again, I recognize that's subjective, depending on how you decide to measure it. And I will point out one thing, that there is a city sewer plant not too far from this home. That would be an interesting public hearing if this was a proposal for a sewer plant at that location. All right. Again, this use must not constitute a nuisance or a hazard. Any use, you could have a church, you can have a school, any number of uses that can be perceived as nuisances or hazards. If it's properly managed, it doesn't have to become a nuisance. It's just a matter of the, as I said, the frequency of things that happen, the management of it, and how many people are in attendance and the noise levels that they are allowing. Now, I sort of asked myself when I was doing the staff report, well, have we received complaints about the facilities we already have? I am unaware, at least at the Building and Zoning Department, that we've ever received any complaints about those facilities that I just talked about. Now, I can't speak for the Sheriff's Office. I don't know if there have been events out at some of these that have caused them to be calls. Certainly that's something I can call the Sheriff's Office and maybe in preparation for your next meeting or the Board of Commissioners, find out if they're aware of complaints and what the nature of them have been at the other similar type facilities. And then the effects of this use on the neighborhood. Again, you're going to have increases in noise, traffic, potentially litter, overall number of people coming through the area. Depending on the traffic, could be safety impacts if there are a lot of pedestrians in the area. Again, it all relies on good management and good maintenance of the facility, whether it becomes a nuisance or what kind of a problem it is, or whatever it is. In terms of any other requirements I'm aware of, potentially alcohol licensing could be one. I don't believe any of the facilities I just talked about get an alcohol permit themselves. Normally the caterers that come on or the people sponsoring the event will bring the alcohol on. So I'm no, none of the facilities I just listed have their own alcohol license, at least in the county. And the only thing that in our office, they would have to update their occupation tax. If they were approved for this business, they would have to update that they already have their short-term rental. We would just add the name of a special event venue if they were permitted to do that. In terms of the summary, I think that you can find reasons to approve and reasons to deny. Those for approval, if you think that the impacts of this particular facility, given its location, characteristics, et cetera, are going to be minimal, that might be a reason to vote yes for it. You've never turned one of these down. The 4 that have gone through the process before have all been approved. Obviously, you're familiar with your list of conditions. You'll see I'll go over those soon. I've made the same recommendations that we use those same conditions, but maybe slightly modified in this particular case. There's nothing that this proposal is contrary to anything in the comprehensive plan. And let's face it, it is a very attractive facility. You go to an event like this, if it's successful, you're probably going to leave Upson County and say, wow, I was at this facility, it looked like a European castle, and that's a positive impact on just the perception of Upson County if you're not here frequently, and that's the only interface or interaction you've ever had. Reasons for denial. Obviously, this is a very neighborhood type neighborhood. It's a residential street. You don't have any through traffic. You don't have a lot of major streets. Well, you don't have any major streets in the area. They're all pretty much neighborhood or getting to these neighborhood type character. And this is the smallest of these facilities. You saw that all the other ones were 10 acres and even triple digits. So this would be the smallest of these facilities. And if you think that's a negative reason, that certainly would be a reason to deny. Now, my recommendation here is consistent with the other conditions. If you choose to recommend approval to the Board of Commissioners, these are all look familiar. We limit the type of facilities. We describe the sort of activities that we would expect to see in A. B, we limit and don't allow certain other activities. Now, this is unique in C. I believe all of the other three, we allowed a maximum of 300 attendees because of the size and location, and the applicant didn't ask for over the 150. I changed that number out. So your other facilities had 300 max attendees. I did change that number down to 150 in this particular condition. Also, we've always had D, where we have a amplification of any music, voice, etc. needed to close at 10 p.m. Let's also add they can't start any earlier than 10 a.m. So that's been added, and that's unique. E is the same as the other ones. F is the same as the other ones. G is the same. Of course, H is slightly modified because we're already getting an occupation tax paid by this applicant. We also would want to see any licenses and occupation tax certificates from the vendors potentially that would be on site. We also, this is something we started, I think, in the last 2 or 3 of these, that any approval by the Board of Commissioners would be solely for these applicants, that it would not roll over to any successive ownership, that they would have to go back through the process if it's approved for the Haslams. And then, of course, the also identical requirement in J, that if there's any violation of the conditions of approval, that the Board of Commissioners may revoke the special exception. And of course, you have the power through the ordinances to either approve with conditions or deny the request, making your recommendation to the Board of Commissioners. Going through the graphics, this is what I'll call the smaller. It gives you an idea of the neighborhood. So I've zoomed out from the property. You can see where it is relative to Goshen Road and the other roads in the neighborhood. The sewer plant is right here. And then again, you can't tell, but this slopes down basically here all the way down to the creek, quite a bit. That's the closer in aerial. And then I borrowed this from the applicant. This is the aerial of the actual site itself where the events would happen. So just for comparison, there's the close in. A little further out, you can see the neighboring houses. And a little further out, you can see the neighborhood and the surrounding local road. All right, and this is the photographs. Obviously, there's the front of the facility looking east. This is Goshen Road looking north. Goshen Road looking south. And this is the garden area in the front of the home. And the idea here was to show some of the parking. Obviously, I'm standing close to the front door looking towards Goshen Road. Because of the rise here, you can't see the parking to the left very well, but that would be part of the parking to the left around that circle. You can see the fence that the other photo was taken on the other side of. Now, this is the nearest house to the south, and this is taken, I guess, maybe from the paved area or very close to it. So this house, which is the closest one, is not very far away. And certainly this time of year when the foliage is down, it's not very obscured. This is looking from that side yard to the house. south side. And you saw it in his presentation, you saw this platform, patio, whatever you want to call it, which is on the side of the house, the south side. This is the house itself from the side and steps down. And this is that pool in the area. You can see that where that black fence is, where the chairs are, you go behind that and it just drops down to the lake. So in terms of flat usable area for the special events, this is as far into the property as you would get. And I know that for the purposes of the short-term rental, they do advertise use of the pool. And the back of the house itself. And what you can't see is if you go past this, there's that other part, which is, I believe, the room or the part of the house that they rent out for the rooms. And it's on that side of the parking. Oops, wrong way. All right, and this is the driveway entrance. You've got the second floor walkway, goes between the two parts of the home. And then this is on the other side looking down towards the backyard. I'm going to guess that they would use some of this area for overflow parking if it was necessary. And this is that side of the home, the north side. You see the riprap, I guess they needed that for rain purposes, and this is a parking area that's on that side of the home in the front. You saw on the aerial. And there it is from the house view looking towards Goshen Road. That's part of that parking area on the north side. Another view of that same parking. And that concludes the staff report, Madam Chair.
Any questions on that before we move to public hearing?
No, I don't have any.
Okay. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
I make a motion to open the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Okay, so what we will do, I'll go by this list that you guys have signed up on. If you will, when I call your name, if you'll come to one of these marks, state your name and address.
Ma'am, our association of homeowners out in this area has requested that Danny Hunter be our spokesman. He's gonna make some remarks, and
Sure.
he didn't get on the list first.
He's on, okay, so that's
We would like for
fine.
him to go first if that's
That-
permissible with the board.
That's fine, that's
Thank you
fine.
very much.
So there was one other person for that, was Natalie Nickerson.
Yeah.
And did she leave?
Yeah, she had to leave to take her son for a basketball game.
Okay, just wanted to make sure she didn't move somewhere. Okay, so in that case, Danny Hunter? Yep. You can come to either one of these
All right,
marks.
thank you. Madam Chair, Commission members, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Danny Hunter. I live on North Ridge Drive in Upson County, which is a little bit down the street from the property that was under review tonight. I have, first of all, a list of people who've signed the petition in opposition to this property being redesignated as a special exception. Approximately 70 signatures on here, and I'll give that to Mr. Currier here. Also, just as a matter of people who are in the room present, all those who are present and opposed to the special designation being approved, you raise your hand. All those opposed? Thank you. As Mr. Rain said, I've been asked to serve as a spokesperson for the residents in the area. It's our belief that it's the responsibility of the county through its zoning ordinances to protect the rights of the residents in the area to the quiet enjoyment of their homes 365 days a year. For the county to accomplish this responsibility, those who are opposed believe this special exception request should be disapproved. Our objection to the special exception application centers upon the harmful effect to the general neighborhood because of the nuisance conditions that we believe will be created from the operation of a special events venue. There's little doubt that this residence on Goshen Road provides the amenities, little doubt, that the amenities that a wedding and a venue might want to have. We saw the pictures, they're beautiful. Unfortunately, this venue is in the wrong location for such celebratory events, as it's located in the midst of a residential subdivision that will be affected by detrimental noise and traffic inconveniences that are associated with large celebrations. The typical characteristics of a wedding or other event, large birthday party or holiday party, is a celebration component with amplified music and the service of alcoholic beverages. And make no mistake, outdoor celebrations with 100 to 150 people in attendance will make significant noise. There could be noise from any loud music being played by a live band or DJ, or noise coming from catering delivery activities, noise from automobiles coming and going from the parking lot. Parking lots only located 50 feet from the road, 50 feet. In contrast to some of these other venues that Mr. Courier was discussing earlier. It's only located 50 feet from the roadway, and the noise from 100 to 150 attendees. This level and type of anticipated noise intrusion on nearby residents is unacceptable and should not be expected in a residential subdivision. This noise would be an unreasonable inconvenience that constitutes a nuisance as defined in the county's zoning ordinance, in my opinion. The closest residents, as indicated by Mr. Courier, next door and across the street are located only 250 to 350 feet from the venue, and they would be the ones that bear the brunt of the noise and the traffic. The applicants state in their application, and if you take a look at their application, that noise will be held to, in quotations, acceptable levels, and during, in quotations, appropriate hours. But they don't specify what the acceptable levels of the noise means. If acceptable levels means that the nearby residents have to endure hearing amplified music and crowd chatter from the event, I would define that as a noise intrusion or nuisance. The applicants do not list what they consider to be appropriate hours for the Planning Commission to review, which is unsettling. And then you have the trapping and the parking dilemma. The parking diagram submitted by the applicant shows a maximum of 50 paved parking spaces for a 100 to 150 person venue. The applicant also states in their application that all parking will be on site, which means off of the roadway, which I assume means inside the gates. There are two gated entries, about 15 feet wide. If there's an event with 100 and 150 people in attendance, I'm curious as to how they intend to make sure that everyone driving to the venue shares a car with 2 or 3 other people, which means if you divide 150 by 50 parking spaces, that means every person has to be 3 people to a car. I mean, and that just doesn't seem to make any sense to me. That means in order to get all 50 cars parked in the space, you have a 50 lot parking space. Moreover, parking attendants would have to be on hand forcing all of the cars through the gates into a parking lot into a pre-designated space. Common sense tells me that this is an unrealistic expectation, and that cars will likely park on both sides of the road in front of the venue and in front of neighboring houses. Any car parked on the roadway will be partially parked in the traffic lane due to the narrow shoulder of the road, likely impeding safe passage of other cars and residents driving on Goshen Road. People arriving or departing to attend the event at the venue are expected to increase the traffic volume by 100 cars per event, 50 coming, 50 going, all traveling on Goshen Road, and are likely to impact other residents of Goshen Road and North Ridge Drive with driveway turnarounds and suspicion of intrusion into the property of nearby residents, especially at night. We don't have any commercial establishments on Goshen Road, none at all. None that storefronts or anything like that. So there's no expectation of anybody coming down the road generally, except for people who live in the area and friends. Some might suggest that the proposal for an event at this Goshen Road residence has similarities to the event venue at Harper Pines. And I don't know about many of those other venue sites that Mr. Courier listed there. I do know about Harper Pines, and I do know about Bickley's. But you do a close examination of these two properties, say for instance Harper Pines and the property proposed by Mr. Haslam, that according to the tax assessor's website, the Harper Pines venue is located on 153 acres. The Goshen Road property is 6 acres, as said by Mr. Courier, in the middle of a residential subdivision. Harper Pines has a large paved and unpaved parking space located 1,000 feet from the roadway, 1,000 feet. The Goshen Road property lists 50 spaces located 50 feet from the roadway. The nearest residential house to Upper Pines barn building, where they have most of their events, is 1,000 feet away, nearly 1,000 feet. That's the nearest house to their venue site. There are 3 residential homes listed approximately 250 to 350 feet away from activity sites listed on the Goshen Road application. And I wasn't aware that most of the activities would be held in the front yard of the property on Goshen Road. I just assumed, for instance, that some of the activities will be in the front yard or be in the backyard. It appears that all of it's in the front, so that's going to be within 100 feet of the road. Everything that happens there's going to be parking in the first 50 feet or so and beyond that another 100 or probably 150 feet, in my estimation, from the road and everything else. So that's where most of your noise is going to be coming from, is in the front of the house, if I'm correct. And so different from some of these other venues that are 1,000 feet, including Bickley's Lake, which is located off of Highway 36, where there's an expectation of some noise simply because they're on a major U.S. state highway. Anyone who takes a look at this Goshen Road residence from the road will likely agree that it's a magnificent residence, but the magnificence of the venue does not supersede the rights of nearby property owners to the expectation of quiet enjoyment of their homes, free from the visual and noise intrusions and traffic inconveniences that come from such an event location. Mr. Chairman and Commission members, we request that you vote no on the approval of this request for a special exception. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go down the list, and if I call your name and you have anything to add, please let me know. Brad Thompson.
I concur with Mr. Manning, the awesome presentation.
Sam Taylor.
Same here.
Tom Raines. Yep.
Set it on.
David Gunn. If you would just state your name and address, please.
My name is David Gunn. Have the house at 637 Goshen Road, which is one house between our house and this house. This asking for the special venue. My wife and I was looking for a place to buy and to move to Thomaston. Our daughter, her family, grandsons are here. Grandsons are 8 and 11. We want to be very much involved in their life, especially at this age. We also have a adult developmentally disabled son that lives with us. He will be 38 Wednesday. And this area, this neighborhood appealed to us because of the beauty of the neighborhood and also the peacefulness. In choosing the house that we bought, the road was really basically quiet, a lot less traffic, and the safety of our son and our family did make a difference in us choosing this neighborhood to buy the house that we bought in. And if this venue is approved for this for these special events, there will be increased traffic up and down the road. It will also create increase of noise levels, and there will also be increase of light pollution as well, which would affect the wildlife that also share the neighborhood, or that we share their neighborhood and living there. And that's a concern for us as well. But the safety on the roads is a real concern for us, especially with our child. And our son is not the only developmentally disabled person within the Goshen Road neighborhood. There are a lot of neighbors that walk up and down the street for exercise and also walk their pets. And we're just really concerned about the increase in traffic, and not just the increase in traffic, but traffic that people would be less likely to be aware of others walking up and down the road. Also, likely higher speeds would be involved as well. And this is concerned not just for us and our family, but adults and other children that reside in that area, this area as well. That also the littering, that has been mentioned. Our neighborhood is pretty good about picking up the trash in front of our residents and our property. We look after it pretty well. There are some people who have taken it on themselves to have litter patrols in a sense to go up and down, and pick up where people either trash inadvertently blows out or somebody throws something out. I can just imagine with a venue with likely alcohol being served or things like this, there would be an increase in litter as well. With increase in traffic, increase in litter, the cost of having that picked up, if that is the case, and likely would be, could be a concern, it should be a concern for you as well. But we just think that because we bought the property, it was licensed, it is a residential neighborhood. The property, we bought it in April of 2021, 8 months or so sooner than the Haslams bought their property. It was a residential neighborhood zoned and like, everyone there. There's no commercial venues there. I just think that it needs to remain that way. So my wife and I both are very much opposed to this. Concerned especially with our closeness to this, with the noise levels and other concerns that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. And Nancy, you're signed up, but you're speaking on behalf, okay.
This way, yes, ma'am.
Just wanted to ask. Okay, Helen, there you, okay. You can state your name and address.
Thank you very much, Commissioners, for allowing me to present my concerns to you directly. I am that neighbor that is within 250 feet of the proposed venue. I also thank you for bringing up the fact that you have a special needs child on your premises, because I also have a special needs child on my premises who walks the dog up and down that street and enjoys the comfort and quiet of that neighborhood because it is safe, number one. Priority number one in me choosing this neighborhood was because I wanted the safety of the neighborhood. My neighbors are proposing, my immediate neighbors are proposing to run a commercial business that allows them to host events to the public. The public, we have to think about the public. The public are the people that you meet in Walmart, in Target, and everywhere else. We do not know what kinds of people there are. I also need to explain to you that this occurred in July of 2016. This was coming before you. But prior to that, the Richters had done this. They had tried a business of the same type for several months prior to this. And we did experience a lot of noise. We did experience PA systems that were at night, going as far as maybe midnight. We did experience vulgar language on the PA systems because the venue did not regulate the type of music that was allowed to be played. So I could hear it. My son was subjected to it. We did have people gathering outside the premises because when you have 100 people, and you did see the size of the premises, what is also a deterrent, and what I am asking you to think about, is the fact that the topography of this 6-acre lot not only drops immediately to the back, but it also drops immediately to the side that we're not on. And the venue, the building was actually positioned very close to me because they were trying to build it on as level a ground as they could. And that affected where the building site was placed. So I don't know if you noticed, but one of the pictures was of the platform. I believe it was event site 3, which is on a slab. And the picture that was shown of the property next door, that's my property. And you see the closeness of, people don't stay where you put them, especially the public. They come to an event, and what they want to do is to get away from all the people at the event, especially after they have had a drink or two. And so they move around. We experience them going down to the creek because the creek is attractive. The creek seems to them to be part of the grandeur of the site. And so they wanted to experience getting out into the woods and getting down to the creek. So they did pass over my property to get to the creek. We did not feel safe at all during the time when the event was being done. The event venue was actually operating, and it was operating illegally. But it was tried, and we have had the experience. We had parking issues. My driveway is not gated. It's a woody type entry. I don't have anything special, but the mailbox, which is next to the driveway, has been blocked by cars parking along the roadway. We have had issues where vendors are dropping off equipment or picking up equipment, and they needed extra space, and so they were parking alongside and blocking my driveway or alongside my part of the road. People throwing out trash. That's another part of what comes with the public. They don't have any regard for what you have invested in and what you want to preserve. They are coming there because they want the experience of the grandeur and elegance of something that they don't normally have in their lives. And so when they are here, they are trying to have a full experience. That means traveling wherever they want to go. And, not thinking of the convenience or inconvenience of the people that live there permanently. We have tried to be very good neighbors. We are very, very quiet. Most of you I don't know because we are in the back. I built on my site away from the road because I wanted my son to be safe. And so I am trying to protect that tonight by coming here before you and explaining that this is the wrong place for this event venue to exist, especially since it's been tried before and we have had the experience and we know that it's been proven not to be right for us. And I think the rest of my neighbors agree with that this is, we have been impacted previously, and we didn't know at the time that our neighbors were planning to come before, you, and they were doing this illegally. So we would have complained, but we didn't know we could complain, or what we can complain about. So I am imploring you to realize, to help us keep our quiet neighborhood quiet, in a part away from the major traffic. We have some traffic that goes by but it's controlled. It's controlled because it's there during the week. And on the weekends, we can walk the dogs, we can walk together, we can commune, you know, in peace. Peaceful neighborhood, that's what we have right now, and I'd like that to continue. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, one last, I don't have anybody else signed up to talk. Anybody, would you want to,
Can we all put on the list because my dad's in the hospital? so-
will you come just sign up and then you can speak? All right, if you just go to that mark so we can make sure we get you on the record, state your name and address.
Yes, my name's Angela Shepherd, and I live at 583 Goshen Road. And I just wanted to make really one important point that wasn't on your presentation because I think it's extremely important as compared to the other venues that were listed. Goshen Road is a dead-end road. And to get to the venue, there's basically one way in and one way out. Because once you leave the venue, either you're going to go right and go back out Goshen or Davis Lake, or you're going to go left and hit that major dirt road that's very bad. Everybody knows that people go mud riding down there and so forth, and it's an extremely bad dirt road immediately past this venue. So I just wanted to point out this venue essentially is one way in, one way out. There is no, like the other venues, where you go either way to exit the venue. So I thought that was very important because the traffic is going to be doubled for everybody in the neighborhood of the vehicles going in and out, since there's only one way in and one way out.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. Okay, just make sure I've got, so Mr. Haslam, do you have, if you have anything that you want to offer in addition to what you've already given us, that's fine. Only thing I'll ask you is please talk to us, not to.
May I speak on behalf of the property as well? I'm sorry, I wasn't signed up. I came in later than that was.
Sure.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
please,
Okay,
please come
no, no,
sign. Yeah. Okay. All right, if you would just stand right there and state your name and address for me.
All right, my name is Samantha Hambrick. I live on 309 Charlie Jones Road, which is not near that neighborhood. I have, however, known the pleasure of getting to know the Hoslams over the last year and a half or so. We've done a lot of work to that property. We've come a long ways with that property, and y'all have seen progress that that property has made. I do understand the concerns for the neighborhood. I completely understand that. My neighborhood's quiet as well, and I would be concerned if something like this came there as well. I would help be on site with Mr. Hoslam to ensure that these rules are followed, the traffic is where it's supposed to be, the litter's cleaned up, the noise level is kept acceptable. And by acceptable, I understand your homes are close by. So I would be there on site to make sure if these people are following these rules, that are keeping this down to acceptable level, that they're following the rules of your neighborhood, they're not destroying your neighborhood, they're not destroying your roads, they're not bringing a nuisance to what I know y'all all enjoy as your homes. We don't want that brought to your homes. We want this to be an enjoyable place for people to go to and have a nice, elegant wedding, baby shower, so on, whatever the event may be. So while I do understand your concerns, I want you to know there's someone here local. I grew up in Thomaston, been here all my life. I love this town. I love how small it is, I love how quiet it is. But I want people to be able to enjoy these type of events. And that's why we want to limit to a small amount. With the traffic, if it's going to be over that 50 cars, they will then have to carpool. They'll be allowed to park uptown in public parking areas, but then you need to carpool from there to that property. We don't want the overflow onto the street. We don't want the overflow in your yards. We don't want the overflow on the curbs, inside the roads. We don't want them destroying the roads. We want that to be on site. So we want to be there to ensure this is a nice, beautiful place offered to everyone. We want to offer it to the neighborhood for them to enjoy and have events there as well. But I do understand y'all concerns, but I wanted you all to know there's someone here local that will be able to ensure these things are done. These things are taken care of, these things are presented well. They're not a nuisance to you all, they're not a nuisance to the people living close by. There'll be strict rules put in line when we set these events out of, there's speed limit enforced. There's a certain number of people that are allowed. There's gonna be a deposit. If you litter, we're gonna keep that. We're gonna have to go clean up the roads. We're gonna have a group ensure that this is gonna be what it's supposed to be and not a nuisance to your neighborhood. So I just want to speak on behalf of that. Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Haslam, I'll give you a few minutes to speak on those comments. If you would, like I said, please talk to us, don't address them. Okay.
So I understand a lot of these concerns raised. Sometimes the fear of the unknown takes us to the worst case scenario. And, you know, Doug had said it earlier, responsibly managed properties is the key here. When we talk about the safety of residents, whether it's just somebody walking a dog in the neighborhood, and there's traffic, you know, that doesn't have to be traffic because of a venue or an event. If we want to do things to improve our neighborhood and the safety of people, then there's traffic elements that we can do as a neighborhood to improve traffic. We can put in speed bumps, we can put in speed limit signs. There are things that can be done, but the onus and to place all of these issues in terms of traffic risk on a venue is, I think that's unfair. All I'm asking for is similar treatment to other venues that have come before this committee and have been approved. So traffic, you know, I see ATVs come flying down the road on my road, and that's just as much of a hazard as a car. So, you know, we're not about, you know, doing anything that's going to increase risk, traffic that's inappropriate. We would manage on the property appropriately. We would follow all of the conditions that are laid out. You know, people mentioned about trash and littering. Well, we would certainly do what the conditions required, which is to have everything cleaned up within 12 hours. That's what the committee presented as a requirement for other venues. We would be held to the same accountability of those other venues, whether it be the traffic, parking, whether it be littering, trash, or even amplified music. You know, any of us right now could be playing amplified music on our property from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. That is not against the law. But if we have an event venue, or we don't have an event venue, and we're playing amplified music, that will be, you know, that will be some level of disturbance to other neighbors. And, you know, sometimes I hear my neighbors, sometimes they hear me. But the reason why that's not against the law is because it's done during appropriate hours. Our focus with the castle would be doing things the right way, the appropriate hours, with the appropriate measures in place to take care of the property and ensure the neighborhood is kept safe, that the neighborhood is treated appropriately, and there's minimal impact to neighbors, and whether it be close to us or on Goshen Road. So much of what has been raised, I understand, and I get that. I guess our perspective is that you know, 5 or 6 of these other events have been approved. There isn't too much dissimilarity. You can say that acreage is one measure, but usable acreage is another, and we're similar to other venues. And so from that perspective, we continue to be, we're above the ordinance of the minimum 5 acres. So what I see is that we're falling into place, and we're doing everything appropriately. There is fear of the unknown and what this could be, but as opposed to it going to the worst case scenario, it could be a very nice addition to the neighborhood and to the impression and value of the community in terms of a nice event venue. So I guess I'm not as pessimistic that it would have the impact that some people are saying. I think that we can manage it, and that's the key, manage it very appropriately and within the appropriate hours and within the appropriate number of events in a year. As I said, this was mainly weddings, so it would mostly be on weekends, and there's only limited amount of time to do weddings, so maybe it's summer, or maybe it's spring or fall. So the overall impact in terms of these events, I think is not going to be as significant as people think it will be. And from our perspective, we love the property. We are very proud of all the changes we've made to the property, and we think that it can be something positive in Upson County, and we can contribute in a positive way to the county. I'll leave it at that.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any questions or?
I have a question, if I might. Mr. Doug, are you aware of any property that is for sale past this proposed venue that would create other problems for property going, or for traffic going past that venue?
I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
Property for sale?
Are there any properties for sale past this event proposal on this road?
Well, in terms of active sales, I'm not sure, but ultimately, every piece of property is for sale at some time, so.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow it could be up for sale, it's not today, but no, I'm not aware of any property up for sale.
Mr. Pitts, there's one across the street just for sale, directly across the street.
Just one piece of property?
This
There's
piece.
no more property for sale on
Well,
that?
there's open land that's for sale, but no houses that I know of.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Am I to understand that this property now is used for bed and breakfast? No,
No, it's used for short-term rental.
short term.
So I don't think they serve them meals, that just means, it's like renting out a room. They rent out a room, and that's what they do.
Not with my cooking.
About defining appropriate time. You say appropriate time, what will that like? Where will that be? Appropriate time for the venue when you have
It's
it?
not on the list.
Yeah, I think we would have to, if it was approved, we would have to give those hours that they could operate. I'm not saying it's going to be approved one way or the other, I'm just saying that would be one of the conditions for that, so.
If I may, Madam Chairman, we would comply with the hours that are provided. That's
Sure.
the whole point of this.
Sure. Any other questions? John? Jeff?
No, I'm good.
In that case, do I have a motion one way or the other?
My motion is to deny.
Okay. Do you want to add as to your reasoning for that, just so?
Yeah, based on what I've heard here, based on Mr. Doug's presentation.
Okay.
I second the motion.
Okay. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Is that unanimous?
Yeah.
For the audience, what this means is this is a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners The hearing before the Board of Commissioners will be 6 o'clock on February 13th. You will see a similar presentation, except that I will certainly convey that the recommendation from the Planning Commission is for denial. But again, put on your calendar, February 13th before the Board of Commissioners. This is a recommendation of denial, but it's not the decision.
Okay. I'm going to take just a second in case, if you guys don't want to stay, if you want to leave, I'll give you a minute to get out of here just so we don't have interruptions.
Sunday night. You guys are working 24/7, aren't you? It's very impressive. Thank you.
See, I just thought it was
Might need it for anything else.
Now, what, the yellow sign will disappear. The yellow sign will come back 2 weeks before that Board of Commissioners hearing. My staff report's not really going to change much. It might change a little bit, otherwise I present that also to the Board of Commissioners. I present pretty much the same presentation. If you want to modify your presentation or you want to keep the same, whatever you would like to do, or not present at all, it's up to you. And basically what you saw here is what will happen to the Board of Commissioners, except they make the final decision. This is just a recommendation.
Just so I'm clear, the appealing of any decisions.
Well, of course, no final decision's been made for the Board of Commissioners. If they deny it, you would appeal that within a certain amount of time to Superior Court.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
What's about that noise? Nobody wants to watch your elections? What?
Well, I had a fear if we started and then all of a sudden there's a mass exodus while we're trying to talk.
You want me to get in the door?
Please, please. I'll be honest with you. So when that house was for sale, I thought it was way off the road because it was so grown up in front of it, you couldn't see it.
One thing I've wanted, you may have 6 acres there, but you have probably realistically less than 2. I mean, I would even go far stretch to be 3, but in reality, you probably got an acre and a half at best. And my daughter's an event planner. She plans weddings. She does large weddings. She does them, I mean, big stuff. You couldn't put 50 cars there, 150 people on the available space that's there, let alone, I mean, it's just impossible. It's a great location. We could use something like that, no doubt. It would do very well, but it's not the right place. We've got to reserve the sanctity of our residential neighborhoods. I mean, and for the people that.
So that piece of property failed as a venue once.
It never made it to us.
Yeah, never made it to the board.
Yeah.
They tried.
There was some weddings held down there
Without, before it, and then.
Well, but the statement from the people that were part of that say that there were 4 family weddings. Obviously, the family was very attracted to that house to have their weddings. And it was, now, do I know that's a fact? No, but that's the rebuttal I've heard is that there were 4 weddings and they were all family. I don't know. I guess the neighbors would have to tell you whether there was more than 4 or not.
Yeah.
And not all family.
All right, moving on, item 5, other business, elections for 2024 chair and vice chair. This calendar. Don't all talk at once.
Well, I'll tell you, I talked to chair and the vice chair done a good job last year.
Is that your way of passing the buck?
No, I'm just being honest. So I nominate Ms. McKinley as the chair and Mr. Dawson as vice chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is that unanimous, Madam Chair? Or is it 4-1?
3-2.
Or 3-2? All right. Okay, next thing is approve the 2024 meeting schedule.
And Madam Chair, just before you vote, the only problem you see is in November when we've got a conflict with Veterans Day, but that's in November. Let's cross maybe a month or two out from that. We'll make a decision. To be honest, it's been so many years since we had this conflict. I don't remember what you've done in the past, whether you moved it a week or a day, but you will have that conflict where we close that day, but we can worry about that in September, October.
That was gonna be my suggestion, is just, so do I have a motion to approve the dates as they are on this list for now?
I'll make a motion to approve the
Second.
list.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second it.
Second.
All in favor?
I very possibly may not make the February meeting. I'm having a knee replacement Thursday, and we'll just see what,
Was that trying
I
to
believe
say you
you'll be
incapable?
all right. I believe
Did you say you incapable?
I'm probably gonna run back in here, man. You'll be all right,
if I
Bobby.
can climb them steps, I'll be here.
Yeah, we'll get you up there. Don't worry
If I
about
can climb
that.
the steps, I'll be here.
Well, good luck with that. Item 6, planning commissioner issues and announcements. I'll just take the opportunity to welcome Philip. Thank you for joining our group, and we look forward to having you here.
Thank you.
A good initiation night.
Yeah,
It's a good
he didn't
one.
run away with a full room, so that's a good sign. Any other announcements?
No.
Anything? Okay. Item 7, secretary's issues and announcements.
Hot topics. The only thing that is somewhat related maybe is that, as you know, the Fortner case was a rezoning case that came before y'all. It was ultimately denied and then withdrawn by the Board of Commissioners. They then took a tack of going after the occupation tax issue. They lost in court once and then appeal. They lost both of those cases. So we have now gone full throttle in terms of code enforcement cases on that particular issue. I believe we're up around 23 citations have been written. I want to say February 1st is the arraignment date. So again, that's where we are with that case that, you know, back in a couple of years ago came before you. Other than that, I can't think of anything right now that would concern the Board of the Planning Commission. That
What are the enforcement issues that we're?
well, of course, the big ones are zoning.
Yeah.
Of course, it's those uses are not consistent
But
with the
outside
property.
of that,
I believe the majority of the cases are actually per vehicle, because of course, if it's a junked vehicle, it's not allowed to be an AR. So I don't think he actually went after every single vehicle, but he went through a number of the vehicles and wrote a citation for each one, a large number of the junked vehicles. But again, as far as the zoning administrator is concerned, basically charges that you're not allowed to be here are the primary case.
Right. Okay. I don't have anything else. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you. Adjourn 6:58 if you get the TV and mic. 6:58.
Who's the petitions got to?
I'll take this
well,
for the record.
Yeah. There you go. I'll hand it to him with this right here.